All right, welcome back to part 2 of Compliance Clips with Philip Fletcher and John Farquhar as we're discussing the meltdown. What went wrong with the truck driving schools, and why do we have a whole bunch of drivers out there behind the wheel of commercial vehicles whose licenses may not or are not valid? We're going to pick up where we left off, where I was asking John about the implications for a potential nuclear lawsuit if one of your drivers is involved in the U.S. and it turns out that they were certified with an A license through one of these fraudulent schools. All right, let's pick it up. John, from the insurance side, am I describing this somewhat?
Oh, definitely. This is the latest news that's come out is opening up that query and that concern with insurance providers right now, going, oh my God, I never thought this was going to happen. I never even thought about this, right? That a driver who we're insuring, been driving for 4 years, now all of a sudden gets a letter to say, hey, your license is suspended. We need you to retest because there are questions about how you got your license or the school that you went through.
And Philip, where are we going to find out which schools are TTSAO certified? Do you have a website? Is there somewhere where we can go and as a safety manager and say, okay, driver, you say you got hired here, TTSAO school, yes or no?
Yeah, so we do have a website, that's ttsao.com, and we have our schools listed there. And you're bringing up a pretty big item here with what's going on in the industry right now. One thing we want to set up that we've talked about doing in the last month now is to set up a portal where the carriers could go and check on who's got the transcripts coming out of the TTSAO for verification purposes.
Awesome.
And
yes.
I don't even think we're thinking of charging that, but I think that portal would be very, very good for the insurers as well as for the carriers.
I think that's a fantastic initiative. You got to let us know when that gets set up. We're going to put it out there. Absolutely. That is the first usable piece of information that from a safety manager's perspective I've seen, because the MTO's out there saying, we're going to send the notifications to the driver, and Mr. Employer, you have no rights to be included in this. And you can understand that from a certain perspective between privacy and the fact that they don't know where they work. But you've got to give the carrier the opportunity to do their due diligence. Because, I mean, right now, what I'm suggesting to my clients is, you know what, here's a questionnaire letter that you got to send to all of your drivers who have been licensed for this period of time and say, have you been asked for that? Have you been notified? Or if you get notified in the future, you need to tell us. But we know that there's a percentage of them that aren't going to do that.
True. But I think this is something we would like to do and get the retrospective of the people that have come through over the last number of years since this has started to be a rollback of 4 or 5 years of licensing to see who's actually got a responsible training course under their belt before they're licensed. And we're talking about getting this portal set up so that we can actually roll the transcripts through there, and these people can have it up there. We'll just have to find some sort of password for them to go into so we don't have anybody going in there monkeying around with the transcripts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's good. Well, because I know there's going to be guys who are going to be subject to this situation. That 80% that you mentioned, Rick, and maybe they've been driving for 4 years, and maybe the carriers they've worked for, they've done very well, and they've got some extra training and mentoring, and it's been a great experience for that driver. However, because of the school that he went through that's now gone debunked or something, now they're getting a notice from the MTO saying, hey, you've got to retest because we got concerns. That driver, that company should not be worried knowing how well that driver is performing today, and if he's been provided that mentoring, that finishing training as he moved along, his confidence should be very high to go, not a problem, MTO. I'm willing to show you how good I am at what I've learned out of this. And I think that's what the MTO wants to see is go, if you're good, show me you're good, and we'll make sure your license is stated as such. But I think, again, what Philip's talking about with regards to getting those transcripts would be something that would be a huge due diligence for anybody, no matter whether this guy's been driving for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it be. If you went and got your melt, I want to know where you got your license from.
Yep.
You know, I
Agreed.
you know, and due diligence on top of that, the reference checks of the previous employers. You know, if you work
Absolutely.
for two-bit carriers, you should be questioning the validity of this driver's ability. You know, we shouldn't be waiting just until we see we get a letter. It's like, no, I need to know more, mister. I not only your previous employers, but I want to know where you got your license from. I want to know how well you passed it. Is this a reputable school and whatnot? So, because everything's going to stem backwards.
Yeah, and then I
Yeah,
think,
and,
go ahead, Phil.
and John, as you're pointing out, we are foundational to people entering the industry. We are the greatest foundational
Yes.
piece that you can go back to check and verify.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
because
was gonna say, John, to your point, an awful lot of graduates start by working for an owner operator that's
yeah,
got a
yep,
truck on with a
yep.
fleet. And when you do the reference check, they don't give you the fleet, they give you the owner operator because
operator,
that's the
yep,
employer. And
yep,
you have to dig deeper,
yep.
right? You have to look, and that right there is a red flag in my mind.
Well, and you know what? There's a lot of people out there that go, I've got 30 years experience in the industry, and I'm going to teach this young guy how to drive a truck. But the problem is, if you weren't properly trained to do the job yourself, and you've got a whole bunch of bad habits, you're just sharing those bad habits with the new recruit. So, you know, you're not helping that person. So we need to make sure that when we mentor properly, adequately, meet the requirements of the law, best practices that we can possibly put into play.
John, just to alleviate your concern on that, with the current stakeholder group that I'm a member of working with MTO on the redo of MELT, driver or instructor, I should say, instructor certification is going to be mandatory. So they're going to have to take a course in how to teach, and that transfer of knowledge has to be the key element of how you take that information and give it to somebody that they can use it properly and it's coming from the correct source and the correct manner.
Right.
So instructor certification is going to be mandatory here. It's already come through in Alberta. Ontario will be doing it as well. We're talking about that right now.
Yeah, and that'll be good because then carriers can send drivers that want to be a driver trainer to that same course to be an instructor. Because unfortunately, I think many of us have seen on social media too many incidences where the new driver does his first trip and then the owner goes, "Okay, now you can train." What are you talking about? I just got my license 6 months ago and I just did my first trip with you to the US. Yep, well, you didn't have any problems, you didn't get any fines, so you can train the next guy. And you're putting somebody in a very terrifying position.
Yeah, and I'm going to expand that a little bit and I'll tell you that I hear that even happens at the school level. Somebody just passed their license exam and they come back to that school and that school says, "Oh, can you go out in the yard and train these guys how to do proper Schedule 1?"
Sure, no problem. Any day.
So,
yeah.
you know, in today's environment, Philip, you're just going to have to consider how you control the documentation so that it's not fraudulently created, right? The degree of fraud in the industry and everywhere right now is mind-numbing. So I think we're coming to the end of our time. I want to ask you, this is an opinion, and I know it's an opinion, but I think it's valid. I've written several articles lately about the quality or the lack of quality that we're seeing behind the commercial vehicle. The frequency and the severity and the types of collisions that we're seeing, the overtaking on double yellow linings up north, the instances, John and I did a cover on hitting the Brantford Bridge, which seems to have a target painted on it. Just an opinion. Do you think that the number of drivers that we're seeing involved in these accidents on the highway can be directly correlated to the issues of these fraudulent schools?
Well, up to that, I have no doubt that there's a definite element. Now, whether they're totally to blame for all of them, that might be another
Nope,
question?
but is there a correlate? Do you believe there's a
There's a
correlation?
correlation.
Philip, we'll give you the opportunity for some closing comments from your perspective that you'd like to share with our audience. Anything that you'd like to get out there as we wrap up this conversation?
Yeah, I think that we're coming into a new stage of definite compliance and oversight here. A lot of what is happening in the United States has sort of set the mark on this, and there's like a red circle around safe driving of the transports these days, and that is going to filter across the border to here because we do so many cross-border runs that we have to be in line and in step with what's going on there, including the English language proficiency and all of the non-domiciled CDLs. That sort of situation is going on there, and how the industry has been susceptible to a lot of improperly licensed drivers, which we're now encountering here in Ontario. And we have to be much more mindful of what's going on in the industry overall and be much more compliant in our oversight and bring the hammer down in some situations. There's the 2 people that were found guilty in court last year of operating 2 fraudulent schools in Cornwall and in Quebec. And they were found guilty in January, and they have yet to be sentenced. There better be a meaningful sentence coming out of that in order to create some deterrence on this.
Please tell me those schools are no longer operating.
They're no longer operating.
Okay, good deal. Jeez.
And we don't even think a chameleon school has popped up in its place.
Oh, really? Wow, that's surprising. Yes.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
John, what about yourself? Anything you'd like to add in the wrap up here, other than what an amazing guest Phil's been?
Well, you know what? The information has been awesome. I think we can sum it up by we reap what we sow, and it is coming back to roost finally. And hopefully, as Philip has said, the oversight is coming into play. There's no doubt that what's happening in the U.S. is just going to put a spotlight on what's happening in Canada as well, and kind of show a bit more of the underbelly of this industry. And hopefully we can get this thing straightened out sooner than later.
And
yeah, it's not the industry that we all grew up in and that we all started participating as drivers. It's gone off the rails, and we have to pull it back on very strongly at this point.
Yep.
So for our safety managers, where'd your driver go to school? Was it TTSAO? And if not, dig deep, folks, because this issue is way more than 180 to 300 drivers. We're talking thousands. We're talking thousands.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Phil. It's been great having you on.
Yes. Thank you.
Stay tuned because next month we're going to be talking about customs.
Oh God, customs, U.S. customs, Canada customs, or are we talking like about Scottish customs and
No, we're not talking about going and sipping the finest scotch in the bar.
No,
we're talking about that funny little booth at the bridge.
Yeah, funny little booth. Love them. So,
don't we all remember when we had to clear our own customs crossing the border, and you're sitting at the customs broker's office and they were ignoring you for about an hour and a half?
Oh yeah. Oh, remember those days? Long time ago. Or on the U.S. side, I remember going to the U.S. side, not knowing what you were doing, and the U.S. officer yelling at you, "You got to get in that line over there, kid. Like, do as you're told." I didn't know. Nobody told me. Well, get somebody to show you.
Go see the broker.
Yeah, exactly. Go see the broker. Come back. And they come back and they didn't do anything, and they go, "Stamp, see you, bye." Anyway, awesome. Well, thank you again, Philip. This has been good. This was good information. So,
well, very enjoyable time devoting some information to you guys and having you go out there so that we have a greater understanding in the marketplace.
Definitely. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We hope you found today's materials to be useful and you can put them to work. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. And if you've got questions from today's material, or maybe you're just looking to improve your safety and compliance game, please feel free to reach out to either me or John. And remember, you can't manage what you don't monitor. The key to compliant profitability is just one phone call away. So until next time, put the phone down while you drive and keep your eyes on the prize.